Weekends at the Croissant Bakery Cafe are a hotspot for the young and trendy, filled with couples who look like they stepped right out of a catalog. And then there is Hyun Seong-min, a 40-year-old man sitting alone radiating pure anxiety. Because he's here on a blind date, a prospect that is clearly not going well for his nerves. His hands are shaking so badly he can barely hold his coffee, already wishing he was home with takeout. Out on the street, it seems like every beautiful person in the city decided to walk past this one cafe, and just then his eyes go wide with a sudden jolt of panic. A stunning woman walks in, and for a split second he dares to hope. She is heading his way, he is practically praying this is his date. But she breezes right past him to greet her friend, leaving Seongmin completely crushed. Just as he is recovering, another woman approaches his table and asks if he is the one she's supposed to meet, sparking another round of false hope. She asks if he is Kim Jun-seo and his brain just short-circuits. Turns out her actual date is waving from the next table over and she apologizes for the mix-up. She laughs it off while Seongmin tries to get his heart rate back to normal. He sips his coffee, now thoroughly skeptical, wondering if his real date is ever going to show. His eyes narrow with a final, desperate glimmer of anticipation. A woman stands in the doorway, all smiles, and Seongmin's face is a perfect picture of disbelief. But one look tells him she looks way older than he is and his spirit just deflates. Finally, his actual date arrives, asking if he is Hyun Seongmin. She sits down, explaining she was late dealing with things at home while he is sweating bullets. He tries to be polite, but the first thing he notices is the faint smell of cigarettes. When he offers to buy her a drink, she immediately orders the two most expensive things on the entire menu. Seongmin forces a smile, completely stunned by her high-end taste. At the counter, the bill comes to a whopping 42,001 and he cannot believe it. A lavish tray with cake and coffee arrives at their table. Trying to make conversation, he asks if her problem at home got sorted out. She casually mentions Choco would not eat and he is totally confused. When she clarifies she has a baby at home, his jaw hits the floor. And then she bursts out laughing, revealing Choco is her dog, not a human child. He is mortified, feeling like the entire cafe is staring at their disaster of a date. From the other tables, the whispers start, people guessing they are divorcees or having an affair. She then drops a bomb, admitting she almost did not even come. The reason, because he is too old and she has never dated a man in his 40s. He tries to defend himself, insisting he is technically still 39, which is just splitting hairs at this point. Desperate to change the subject, he asks about her hobbies, but she holds up a hand to stop him. She is on her phone, yelling at a friend for logging into her gaming account without permission. Seongmin just has to sit there and listen to her scream about being blocked. And as he watches this train wreck unfold, the full weight of his age finally hits him. He remembers being young, thinking he had all the time in the world to find someone. Now he is stuck in the minor leagues, with his date complaining about her friend logging into her game account. His aunt set this up, so he feels obligated to be polite, even asking if she likes pasta. She looks at him like he is crazy, asking if he is actually trying to extend this date. She slowly eats her cake, considering it, while he mentally kicks himself for even suggesting it. She rejects him, using the excuse that she is too full from the cake he bought and needs to get back to her dog. He quickly agrees they should just end it here, and she is more than happy to leave her baby alone. All that is left is a half-eaten cake and a bill he paid for, a perfect monument to his failure. On her way out, she tosses a casual "I will contact you," which they both know is a lie. Standing alone in the cafe, it finally sinks in, he just got rejected in under 20 minutes. He tells himself it is for the best, that forcing a meal would have been even worse. But the humiliation is still burning hot. He wants to scream at everyone in the cafe for laughing at him. But he stops himself at the door, realizing that is not going to fix anything. A defeated man, he decides, should just leave quietly. But just outside, he finds her on the phone, loudly telling a friend how old he looked. She's still there, trashing him in public, saying this is why she only dates younger guys. He'd actually put in effort today, dressing up and even wearing cologne. His fists clenched, trying to convince himself he still has a youthful face. Catching his reflection in a window, he stares, desperately trying to see the old man she saw. The reflection staring back at him is a total shock, a tired, middle-aged loser. He cannot believe it, wondering when he aged so much overnight. It dawns on him that this is how everyone must see him. He flashes back to her face as she left, realizing she saw this exact same pathetic man. Completely defeated, he decides the only solution is to go get a drink. He walks past a restaurant, scrolling through his phone for some company. He texts his friends offering to buy a round, but they are all busy with family or wives. He scoffs, telling himself he will never be tied down like that when he gets married. Walking through the bustling weekend streets, he gets a little nostalgic for his younger days. It feels like a waste to go home, so he starts looking for a bar where he can drink alone. He spots the perfect place. Home Run Pacha, which openly welcomes solo drinkers and flirting. But at the door, a young waiter stops him and asks for his age. He jokes about looking young and offers his ID, only for the waiter to apologize. The place is a hunting bar with a strict age limit of 32, and he is officially too old to even get in. Humiliated, he storms off as two younger guys walk right in without a problem. He tells himself there are plenty of other bars on this street. At the next spot, he is told it is a booking bar and they need to keep the age range consistent. The third bar says they are out of seats for men unless he brings a woman with him. And the fourth only has group tables available, offering him a waiting number. Fuming, he realizes that in this city, a man drinking alone is not even considered a customer anymore. He is about ready to just go home, but decides to give it one last shot. He finds a quiet, old-fashioned-looking place, figuring it is his only option left. Pushing the door open, he steps inside. The owner greets him warmly, telling him to sit anywhere, and it is the first kindness he has felt all night. He orders soju and tofu kimchi, but something about the place feels off. It is filled with older couples and the atmosphere feels a little strange. He pours a drink, realizing with a sigh that this is probably where he belongs now. He chugs his first shot, regretting not just going home earlier. His plan is to finish the bottle as fast as possible and get out. But then the owner brings over a seafood pancake he definitely did not order. Turns out a customer at another table sent it over for him. He peeks over, completely baffled as to why a stranger would buy him food. He cannot quite see who it is, wondering if they just felt sorry for the guy drinking alone. Free food is free food, so he decides to just eat it. But as he takes a bite, a horrifying realization starts to dawn on him. He glances around the room, really looking at the other patrons for the first time. An older man is hitting on two women at a nearby table. Another couple is toasting, clearly on a date they met right here. He scrambles to his feet, realizing this is a hookup spot for seniors and he needs to escape immediately. But it is too late. A woman is standing right in front of him, asking if she can join because he looks lonely. He is trapped. He tries to make a quick exit, but the woman insists she's staying for just one more bottle. And to make matters worse, the waiter reveals she has already paid his tab. She claims she just wants to talk about life, but her next move says otherwise, because that is a brand new bottle on the table, not just a leftover glass. She starts complimenting his physique, getting way too personal and causing him to spit out his drink in shock. Then she asks the big one, "Do you have a girlfriend?" Before he can even answer, she admits she has a boyfriend, but things are rocky, a classic line he is not falling for. His new strategy is simple: drink as fast as humanly possible to get this over with. She of course misinterprets this as him being a manly, heavy drinker. He tries to explain he is a lightweight and already feeling it, but she's not getting the hint. She offers to make him a special drink in exchange for a wish, and that is his final straw. He grabs a glass himself. It is not just any glass, it is a massive beer mug. He proceeds to pour the entire bottle of soju right into it. His plan is to take it all down in one last, desperate shot, a move so legendarily stupid the screen has to censor it. He chugs the entire thing, ignoring the very real health warnings. Immediately his stomach feels like it is on fire and he is about to be sick. He stammers out an excuse to leave, barely able to stand. His vision starts blurring, the world swimming around him, and with a thud he hits the floor, completely out cold. He slowly drifts back to consciousness, groaning in a haze. His eyes snap open, bloodshot and frantic. He is in a bed, but it is not his, and the realization sends a jolt of panic through him. Looking around, he recognizes the cheap furniture and sterile layout of a motel room. A motel, the absolute worst-case scenario has come true. He shoots up, wondering how in the world he ended up here. Just then, a woman's voice calls out from the shower, telling him she will be out soon. It is her, the woman from the bar, and his only thought is to escape. But he freezes when he notices his pants are wet, sparking a whole new wave of terror. Before he can process that, a massive pounding sound erupts from outside. Someone is hammering on the door, screaming for their honey to open up. He is trembling, trapped between the woman in the shower and the raging person in the hall. Outside, the man continues to beat on the door, a terrifying sight for anyone nearby. He is convinced it is her husband, and he is about to be the main character in a beatdown. He stares at the bathroom, knowing he cannot wait for her to come out and explain. If going out the front door means certain death, there is only one other option. He looks towards the window, seriously contemplating a high-stakes escape. He slides it open, heart pounding as he peeks outside, but he is way too high up. There's no way he is risking his life over a misunderstanding. He decides to face the music, convinced the truth will set him free. A famously naive assumption. The door handle twists violently and the lock gives way. He tries to explain that it is all a big mistake, but it is a little late for that. A furious, burly man storms in, accusing him of sleeping with his wife. He pleads his case, explaining he was unconscious and just woke up here. But the husband's eyes lock onto something damning. He points down at the man's pants, specifically the large, wet stain. That is all the proof the husband needs, and he lands a solid punch right to the man's face. Onlookers rush in to break it up as the husband screams bloody murder. Next thing you know, they are all down at the local police station. The husband is fuming, unable to understand why he is the one being investigated. He argues with the officer, but the facts are not on his side. CCTV shows the woman carried our hero in, and the stain on his pants was just vomit. The officer calmly points out that being in a motel together is enough for a civil suit, but that is not the real issue here. Turns out the report is about the husband's assault, not the alleged affair. With multiple witnesses, the officer warns him that if our guy files a complaint, the husband becomes the suspect. The officer notes the husband has a history of similar incidents, which is not helping his case at all. Defeated, the husband turns to the man he just assaulted. He tries to play it cool, acting like a little roughhousing is no big deal between men. He even tries to put an arm around him for a let us talk it out drink, but our hero shoves his hand away. He has had enough. He declares he is pressing charges against both of them for sexual assault since he was dragged there unconscious. The officer gets to work on the paperwork while the husband can only stand by and watch his situation get infinitely worse. The husband immediately starts begging, trying to frame the whole thing as a simple misunderstanding. Outside the station, he and his wife corner our guy, promising she will be educated properly, which is not helping their case. He just wants it to be over, telling them nothing happened and to leave him alone. The wife, of course, puts on a dramatic, teary-eyed performance, a masterclass in crocodile tears. Fed up, he warns them to stop following him or he will not hold back next time, and hops into a taxi. He gives the driver his address, finally getting away from the chaos. Staring at his reflection, he cannot believe his attempt at a fun night out ended in a police station. He starts getting emotional, wondering why nothing ever works out for him and if he is just too old for this. The taxi finally arrives, dropping him off in the quiet of the night. He trudges toward his apartment building, completely exhausted. As he punches in his door code, he starts thinking about what life would be like if he were married. He imagines a wife and kid greeting him at the door, a warm welcome home instead of silence. But that is just a fantasy. His reality is a cold, dark, and empty apartment. With nothing else to do, his only plan is to go to bed early. He collapses into bed fully clothed, too tired to even shower. Lying there, he vaguely remembers he had something important to do tomorrow. His phone's alarm gives him a clue. It is set for 10 a.m., then it hits him, a sudden and depressing realization. Today is the wedding of his friend Minsu, the last single guy in their group. He flashes back to them drinking together, vowing to be bachelors for life and move into a senior home together. So much for that pact. Turns out Minsu started dating one of their female coworkers. He kept it a secret for 3 months because he felt guilty about breaking their vow. Now our guy stands outside the wedding hall preparing to face the music. He heads inside, figuring he is not late and his other friends must be around. And there they are, another friend Jinho waving him over with his wife and son in tow. After some awkward pleasantries, the family reunion begins. Jinho's son immediately puts him on the spot, bluntly asking for pocket money. He dodges the question with a nervous laugh and asks where the groom is. Just then, he spots him across the room. Minsu is busy greeting guests, playing the part of the happy groom. He looks every bit the responsible man settling down. Far cry from the friend who swore off marriage. As Minsu smiles for the crowd, he looks genuinely happy, shaking hands and accepting congratulations from everyone. Finally, he makes his way over and they shake hands, Minsu thanking him for coming. But our guy can see it in his friend's eyes, a look that says, "I am sorry." Minsu then calls his mom over to say hello. She immediately launches into the dreaded question, still not married, urging him to hurry up for his parents' sake. The lights dim and the music starts, signaling the beginning of the ceremony. And he is left to watch from the crowd as his last single friend stands at the altar, officially leaving him behind. The groom screams in celebration as the ceremony concludes, his bride smiling sweetly by his side. And soon enough, it is time for the group photos at the reception. His friends are already hitting the buffet, making plans to drink and catch up. The whole hall is packed with guests mingling and grabbing food, a totally standard wedding scene. But Seongmin is wondering where his crew went since they'd all agreed to drink together. He finally spots his buddy Jinho, who is already making excuses about not drinking too much because he promised to play with his kid. Turns out Jinho's wife is standing right there with her arms crossed, giving him the death stare. She then turns to Seongmin and tells him to go drink with his other asterisk single friends, a suggestion that lands like a lead balloon. Because as everyone knows, after Minsu's wedding today, Seongmin is the only single one left. The chandeliers sparkle overhead, mocking his solitary existence in this grand hall. So he ends up at a small table, drinking all by himself amidst the crowd, gripping his glass, clearly simmering with frustration. Two of his friends finally find him, already red-faced and drunk, asking why he is hiding in a corner. One of them jokes that Minsu has entered the grave of marriage, and says he is actually jealous of Seongmin's freedom. Seongmin just drunkenly agrees, ranting about how his own life feels over, how he has to walk on eggshells around his wife and kids. He slurs that if he could do it all again, he'd never get married in the first place, completely confusing his friends. And then the waterworks start, he is full-on sobbing at the table. His friends try to shut him up, pointing out that everyone is staring at the guy crying at a wedding. But Seongmin is not having it, calling them out for acting like life experts just because they got married first, telling him to stay single when they have no idea what it is like to be alone at 40. He finally screams that he's going to get married too, which prompts someone to yell back. With who? His eyes immediately zero in on a woman sitting alone because of course he was already scanning the bride's friends. He starts calculating his odds, wondering if she is too young or already has a boyfriend. But he has already convinced himself she is available because she is eating alone and is not wearing a ring. Tossing his jacket aside, he stands up to make his move, ignoring his friends who are begging him not to cause a scene at Minsu's wedding. He walks right up to her table and she looks up from her food. Sweating bullets, he stammers through his request for her number, admitting this is not something he normally does. Then he drops the killer line, he lost a bet with his friends and has to ask. For a split second, a tiny smile forms on her lips. And Seongmin's brain short-circuits, thinking he actually has a chance. But her expression instantly hardens as she delivers two simple words, "Get lost." Suddenly we flash forward to a happy memory, the two of them laughing together as a couple. He's proposing to her over a birthday cake, her face lighting up with joy. They are a happy family on the beach with 2 kids, the picture of domestic bliss. The scene shifts again, now they are old, him with a cane and her in a wheelchair, having lived a full life together. He is by her bedside in a hospital, leaning in close as she is fading away. He begs her to speak to him, tears streaming down his face. She struggles to get a word out through her oxygen mask, and with her dying breath she looks him dead in the eye and says it again, "Get lost." We snap back to the wedding reception, Seongmin just standing there completely baffled by her response. She repeats her command, leaving him to be judged by the whispering guests nearby. He tries to blame his friends, who are now desperately trying to pretend they do not know him. The woman calls him out for being a grown man acting like a fool over a game. As she and her friends stifle their laughter, the full weight of his public humiliation crashes down on him. Just then, her family in traditional wedding attire walks up, and Seongmin realizes he needs to get out of there immediately. His face twists in pure panic, and he just bolts, leaving his friends calling after him as he flees the reception hall. He walks away thinking this is officially the worst day of his life, a moment of cringe he will probably remember forever. While running down the street trying to disappear, a woman with a sash ambushes him, claiming she is there to share good energy. She gets right in his face, telling him he has a face full of blessings, which is the last thing he needs to hear. Overwhelmed and on the verge of a breakdown, he just mutters that he is sorry. Tears welling in his eyes, he insists to himself that he is fine with how things are, but he cannot help wondering if things would be different if he were just a little younger. That is when his phone starts buzzing, a call he clearly does not want to answer. The caller says, "Mom." Of course it does. He picks up and she immediately asks about the girl his aunt introduced him to. When he says it is not going to work out, she demands to know if the girl did not like him. She launches into the classic lecture, telling him he needs to meet someone at least 3 times before deciding. His mom nags him about lowering his standards, reminding him he is 40 and cannot afford to be picky anymore. Finally reaching his limit, Seongmin snaps and screams into the phone for her to stop. He's left standing on the sidewalk, head hung low, completely defeated. He quickly makes an excuse to his mom about being at Minsu's wedding and promises to call later. His hand clenches around his phone, white-knuckled with stress. Standing alone as the sun sets, he lets out a long, exhausted sigh. All he wants to do is go home, or anywhere, really. He reflects on old sayings about how everyone finds their match, but right now those words mean nothing, absolutely nothing at all. And just like that, it is Monday morning, time to go back to work. He takes the subway, telling himself it is better to just bury the weekend's disaster and focus on his job. His personal philosophy is simple: stay close to the company because being old with no money is the fast track to being lonely forever. As the train pulls into his station, he thinks about the 2 questions people always ask him. The first is why he does not just use a matchmaking agency. The second is why he has never gotten involved with any of his female coworkers. Waving good morning as he enters his building, he notes the reason is actually quite simple. Because his job is being a couple manager at a matchmaking agency called Cupid. He knows no client would ever trust a bachelor working at a place like this, so he keeps his single status a company secret. Which means, ultimately, he is on his own to find a match. A coworker pops over the cubicle wall to gossip about a new team leader starting today. Apparently this guy is a hotshot who got promoted to team lead in just 5 years. Seongmin worries that a guy like that will be strict about performance, but his coworker reassures him his numbers are good. The word performance jogs his memory, and he realizes he completely forgot he has a client meeting today. He heads out of the office, planning to grab a coffee on the way. The meeting is at a local cafe. Seongmin starts by asking his client why his last match did not work out. The client, a man also in his 40s, immediately launches into a tirade about how impossible it is for men his age to find a partner. He claims he is a romantic who believes in pure love, but the woman he met, he complains, only cared about his salary and retirement savings. Seongmin looks down, a little too familiar with this kind of story. The client laments that it is impossible to find a woman who will love you for you, wondering if all the good ones are already taken. He says the worst part was when he went to the restroom and came back to find she had just left without a word. Seongmin asks if he tried contacting her again, but the client scoffs at the idea. Just then, the client gets a phone call and has to step away. It is his own manager, and from his side of the conversation, he is clearly getting an earful about the man he just met. He sounds shocked, questioning whether the guy really had a good job like he was told. Turns out the man's savings were all sunk into crypto, and the apartment he owns is the one his parents will leave him when they die. While the client is busy getting the real story, Seongmin is thinking the whole situation sounds fishy. Because according to the woman's report, the client went to the restroom and just never came back for over an hour, effectively ghosting her. The client hangs up, looking deeply apologetic and flustered. Seongmin calmly asks him if he happened to be in the restroom for a long time that day. The man coughs, claiming he was not feeling well before quickly changing the subject to getting his fee refunded. And Seongmin knows exactly what is going on. It always comes down to one thing: the client did not like her looks. The client finally admits it, he just was not attracted to her. Seongmin sighs, trying to explain that you cannot always expect a 100% perfect match. An older manager backs him up, pointing out that celebrity-level women have celebrity-level men chasing them. But the client is not having it, claiming a married man cannot possibly understand his struggle. He's waited this long for the perfect one, and he refuses to give up now. Walking alone later, Seongmin mulls over the client's words, wondering if he is really that out of touch. He questions if he even has the right to tell people to be realistic about love. Or if he should be the one selling them the dream that good people are still out there. Which leads to the bigger question: is he even a good person himself? The next day at the office, a coworker rushes over, announcing the new team leader has arrived. Another manager gathers everyone into the team leader's office for the official introduction. The whole team shuffles in, curious and murmuring amongst themselves. And they are greeted by Min-young, whose appearance leaves them all in stunned silence. Seongmin is particularly shocked, his brain completely short-circuiting. She confidently announces her goal of 100% successful marriages, while his mind just screams, who is that woman? Because he remembers her all too well. She's the one who once coldly told him to get lost. Now he is standing there trying not to have a full-blown panic attack in front of his new boss. She seems to recognize him too, commenting that it is rare to see a male manager in this field. She racks her brain, wondering if he worked at her old company before shrugging it off. Turning her back to the team, she declares that as long as they earn their members' trust, nothing else matters. With introductions over, she moves on to a new guideline from headquarters. The company now expects its couple managers to be shining examples of successful relationships. Meaning from this point forward, any manager who is still unmarried will have their performance rating penalized. The office erupts, with people freaking out about losing bonuses and promotions. One of the accused women simply flashes a wedding ring, shutting down the accusation instantly. leaving the guy who called her out completely mortified, realizing he just tried to ask out a married woman. While the others plan a welcome dinner, Seongmin just sits at his desk, crushed by the news. He is thinking this has to be illegal, maybe he should call the labor office. But the fear of getting fired at his age with no other prospects is overwhelming. He knows he cannot switch to another company, so what is left, security or delivery jobs, his superior startles him walking up to his desk, and Seongmin's eyes lock onto a document his boss just dropped off. A coworker explains it is a promotional flyer from the city for some new project. He reads the title, Solo Singles Matching Project, a sudden ray of hope. He knows one-on-one introductions are a long shot, but a 5-on-5 group meeting could work. Then he sees the scale of the event. It is not 5-on-5, it is 30 men versus 30 women. His mind lights up with those odds. Surely one person will like him, and this could be his ticket to marriage. A moment of doubt creeps in. These events are usually for a younger crowd. But the age requirement is 27 to 43. He barely makes the cut and immediately slams the Apply Now button. He smirks, thinking he is being sneaky, completely oblivious to his coworker watching him from the side. She's thinking he is pathetic for just smiling after that humiliating new policy was announced. But Seongmin's just figuring he will not be working there much longer anyway. The workday ends and the office empties out for the evening. A colleague invites him to the team leader's welcome dinner, but he quickly makes an excuse about having work. The two women head out, one remarking that the restaurant will probably be too crowded anyway. They wish him a good night and he gives them an awkward little wave. Alone on the street, he decides it is best to avoid his new boss, worried she will remember their past and fire him. On the subway, he starts stressing about the matching event, worrying he will look old next to the younger guys. He's haunted by a memory of a woman yelling about how she only dates younger men, a moment of pure, bleak rejection. Back home, he resolves to dress younger for the event, convinced that clothes make the man. He digs through his closet, searching for outfits from his glory days, and triumphantly pulls out what he thinks is the perfect look. He tries it on, only to find the clothes are now ridiculously tight. The jeans are still cool, but he is definitely not the same size he used to be. Defeated, he tosses the outfit aside, figuring he will worry about it later. Right now, he is just hungry and needs to find something to eat. Living alone means he does not cook much, so it is instant rice from the cupboard. Dinner is a lonely affair, some old kimchi, leftover fried chicken, and the TV for company, because the silence of an empty house is unbearable, so the sound of other people on TV is his only comfort. He watches a show about a single guy his age living his best life and feels a pang of envy. Just then, his phone lights up with a new notification. It is a confirmation his application for the matching project was accepted. The next morning, it is back to the office grind. He walks into the sound of his female colleagues laughing about something. One of them says he missed out on all the fun last night. They go on about how wild the welcome dinner was and how they even went to karaoke afterward, gushing about how cute the new team leader was, which only confuses Seongmin more. He just buries his head in his work, glad he avoided the whole thing. His new boss glances over in his direction, seemingly lost in thought, and her just sitting out in the open instead of her office is making him sweat. He distracts himself by looking up the matching event again, seeing it has a decent track record. Scrolling through success stories of happy couples, and just like that, the day of the event arrives. The venue is a fancy wedding hall set for 60-person singles showdown, but the hallway is dead silent, making him wonder if he is even in the right place. He finally finds the door for the solo singles matching project. His hand is shaking as he reaches for the doorknob, his heart thumping. A sudden urge to run home hits him hard. Maybe this was a terrible idea. But no, he has come too far to back out now. Taking a deep breath, he throws the doors open and makes his grand entrance. The room is a massive ballroom filled with tables of women already chatting and waiting. He stands awkwardly at the door, clutching the back of his neck. An organizer on a microphone immediately spots him and tells him to find his assigned seat. Flustered, he grips his 45 name tag and stammers a quick yes. He spots the placard with his number on an empty chair across the room. He cannot believe how many single women are here, especially when he could never get a single introduction. Reaching his table, he gives an awkward greeting to the guys already seated. But as he sits, he immediately notices the atmosphere at his table is incredibly grim. He nervously glances around, wondering if every table feels this tense. He sees the women's tables are lively, filled with laughter and bright conversation. Even the younger guys' tables are cheerful, and that is when it dawns on him. He looks back at his own tablemates, a collection of older, serious-looking men, and the awful truth sinks in. They have been seated by age group. He starts sizing up the competition. One guy is dressed to the nines with a boutonniere and vest. Another is trying way too hard to look young in a baseball cap, but it is not fooling anyone. And he realizes that is probably how everyone else sees him, just another old guy on the prowl. A wave of self-consciousness washes over him. He really should not have come. But his spiral is cut short by the organizer announcing the event is officially starting. She instructs everyone to get ready to move as they are about to mix up the tables for conversations. Seongmin gets to his feet, takes a deep breath, and prepares for the first round. With his number 45 tag on the table, Seongmin gives himself a pep talk. He's sure he can find a good match here, picturing himself as some kind of war hero charging into the dating battlefield. But he is immediately stopped by a staff member, who informs him this section is for people in their 20s, pointing him toward the designated 40s area like he is a piece of misplaced luggage. The younger women look horrified, thinking he is old enough to be their dad, while he tries to argue that his youthful looks should count for something. But even his own inner monologue knows that is a subjective, desperate little lie. Turns out when your friends say you look young, it is just because they are used to your face. Still, he clings to a sliver of hope as he finds his assigned seat. and the moment he says hello, he feels it, a wave of discomfort from his two middle-aged table mates. These are the people in his age group, a far cry from the students and colleagues he used to know, and his memory flashes back to a time when his social circle was not so bleak. He just cannot wrap his head around this being his reality now. Introductions start and they are about as exciting as watching paint dry. One woman lists her credentials from a top university while another has her arms crossed, clearly not listening to a single word. Xiaomin can feel the hostility, they all look like they'd rather be anywhere else. And one woman is thinking exactly that, wondering why she even came if she was just going to meet other 40-somethings. The brutal truth sinks in, nobody wants to be in the 40s section, not even the people in it. The situation gets so bad one guy just starts yelling that he refuses to participate, and Xiaomin sweats, wondering if every other 40s table is this miserable. Quick glance around confirms it, they are all frozen in a state of mutual despair. The organizer then cheerfully announces it is time to change tables. The men are herded like cattle to new seats, a forced migration of misery, but even after rotating the atmosphere is exactly the same, a dead zone of social interaction. Xiaomin clutches his chest, hit by a massive wave of regret for even showing up. His spiral is interrupted by a latecomer asking if the event is over. The staff assumes he is in his 30s and points him to a seat, but the man calmly says no and holds up his tag revealing he is in his 40s. Xiaomin is absolutely stunned, this guy looks impossibly young. He cannot help but ask him what kind of anti-aging products he has been using. The man just suggests they introduce themselves, so Xiaomin gives his bland office worker bio, only to look up and realize the person next to him has completely vanished. It turns out one of the guys actually went to the staff with a suggestion, which the coordinator surprisingly agrees to, announcing a free-for-all discussion time between all age groups. This idea immediately backfires, making the mood even darker as older guys awkwardly hit on younger women, and pretty soon participants just start walking out the door. The young-looking guy, meanwhile, is being swarmed by women asking for his skincare secrets, which only makes Xiaomin feel worse. He looks down at his own belly, realizing he has done zero self-care and wondering who would ever pick him. Then the organizer announces the final selection, telling the men to stand behind the woman they like. But Xiaomin is completely frozen by his own insecurity, unable to move. He just watches, thinking that standing behind someone would add way too much pressure, and as he looks around, he sees that basically every guy has flocked to the same 2 or 3 women. One of them looks like she's about to cry, and Xiaomin is suddenly very glad he stayed in his seat. Next, it is the women's turn to choose, and as expected, the entire 40s male population gets wiped out. Only 3 couples are formed, all from the younger age brackets, a success rate of about 10%, which feels generous. He even notices the super young-looking guy got rejected, proving age catches up to everyone. Curious, he asks where the guy went, and an older man fills him in. The staff kicked him out mid-event. Turns out he was hiding the fact that he was divorced, a lie they discovered when checking his documents. A truly bold and incredibly stupid move. Just as he is processing this disaster, the other man asks if he's going to the after-party. It is being pitched as a loser's revival, a last chance for everyone who struck out, and someone mentions a popular woman might show up, which immediately gets Xiaomin's attention. He starts thinking maybe, just maybe, he could hit it off with her there, but right on cue the sky opens up, and it starts pouring rain. He does not even have an umbrella. He figures he will just pop into the pub for a bit and leave when the storm passes, so he makes a mad dash across the wet street, arriving at the pub soaked and out of breath, wondering how many people showed up. He peeks inside the door and immediately spots the attendees. It is just the same group of rejected guys from the event. No women, no revival, just a sad meeting of the losers. He decides to bail immediately before their collective misery rubs off on him. Then the scene shifts to a cozy restaurant called Willie's Kitchen, where a man sits alone in a booth. A young woman walks up to his table, smiling, and calls him Opa, apologizing for being late because her class ran over. A fresh shrimp pizza arrives at their table, and she reminds him how much they used to love this dish. She smiles brightly, telling him to eat up, because tonight it is her treat. He is surprised, asking where she got the money, and she winks, telling him her part-time wages just came in. He is clearly touched by the gesture. As she eats, she starts complaining about a senior at her school who keeps bothering her, but she stops when she notices his somber expression. He tells her it is nothing, he just feels so old now, while she has not changed at all. She just laughs, insisting he is still the same too. Later, they are waiting at a bus stop at night. She apologizes for having to leave early for a team meeting, but he insists on riding the bus with her to make sure she gets home safe. On the bus, she falls asleep on his shoulder, and he is lost in a fond memory, thinking about how happy he is just to be like this back when he was a student. Then reality hits him like a truck. He is not a student anymore. It has been over 10 years. He wakes with a start, alone on his couch, an empty bottle on the table. It was all a dream. This is not the first time his ex has shown up in his dreams, and it always leaves him feeling melancholic. On a whim, he decides to look her up online. Her name was unique enough to find easily. And there it is, her profile, username unchanged after all these years. His finger hovers over her picture, wondering if she is living well, and he taps the screen. His ex's social media is a perfectly curated feed of baby photos and expensive-looking meals, and there it is, a family picture confirming she married that senior from college after all. Just as he's processing this, a heart icon pops up on the photo. Likes received. He breaks into a cold sweat, realizing he just accidentally liked the picture. In a blind panic, he starts mashing the screen, a likes cancel. Notification flashing in response, but the damage might already be done. He canceled it instantly, but did the alert go through? A quick search on a forum gives him the worst possible advice: just delete your account, they will never know who it was. So with a heavy heart, he nukes his social media profile of almost 10 years, a truly dignified solution. Seconds later, his phone rings. It is his friend Park Minsu. Minsu, the newlywed, is calling to ask how his honeymoon was. He wants to meet up for a drink later, even has a souvenir to give him. Seongmin hesitates, wondering if a guy fresh off his honeymoon should be out drinking, but Minsu insists his wife is fine with it. She told you to go. Seongmin thinks, a little surprised by her chill attitude. That night, they meet up on a brightly lit street. Minsu waves him over to an outdoor food stall, happy to see his friend after so long. Seongmin greets the owner, who immediately scolds him for being a stranger. Turns out he only invited Minsu, the rest of their friends were all too busy with work. They clink their soju glasses together, ready to catch up, both of them down the shot with a grimace. Then Minsu looks at him dead serious and asks, Seongmin, did you hear about my wedding? Seongmin stammers, looking completely wasted and ashamed, apologizing for something. Minsu looks genuinely concerned. He thought Seongmin was struggling and worried he'd been inconsiderate. But Seongmin just waves it off, admitting he was just being a creep and asking Minsu's new sister-in-law's friend for her number. This is news to Minsu, who clearly did not hear about that particular incident. Seongmin mutters that the woman was married anyway, and Minsu immediately asks who. With tears in his eyes, Seongmin asks if she really said nothing about him, desperate for any sign of acknowledgement. Minsu pivots, saying he just heard Seongmin was having a hard time, joking that being a 40-year-old bachelor is not easy. And Seongmin agrees, confessing he went to a group meeting just yesterday and came back alone. He complains that women in their 30s and 40s show zero interest, making him feel like a background character. Staring into his glass, he wonders if he is just going to live alone forever. Minsu tries to cheer him up, pointing out the advantages of being a bachelor, like financial freedom. Seongmin is not buying it. He'd rather have a partner to share it all with. Changing tactics again, Minsu reminds him that he used to be really popular back in the day. Seongmin is confused, but Minsu insists he was a handsome guy all the way up to his 30s. A flashback shows a younger Seongmin at a group meeting with two women completely focused on him. Another memory shows younger girls having crushes on him, though he had a girlfriend at the time. The food stall owner chimes in, confirming that girls used to ask her to set them up with him on blind dates. But that was then. Now he looks down at his food, just a guy with a belly. Minsu leans in, a serious look on his face. He thinks there is only one way to fix this. His grand, life-changing advice is to lose weight. Minsu continues his lecture, saying you have to display your goods and expose yourself as much as possible. He tells a story about a bachelor at his company who could not get married. The guy went on every app to every meeting and got rejected every single time. Then one day he started taking care of himself, grooming and dressing better. Seongmin asks if he got a girlfriend, but Minsu says no, he still got rejected everywhere. The 40s wall is just that high. Seongmin stares in disbelief, but Minsu tells him to wait for the twist. The guy eventually sent out a wedding invitation. He got married to a woman he met at a meeting. Seongmin is floored, so he succeeded. Minsu clarifies that it was a drunken mistake, not a romance. But the moral of the story is, if you take care of yourself and keep trying, something might just stick. Minsu gets hyped, yelling that if Seongmin loses weight and dresses well, he will definitely get married. For a second, Seongmin is filled with hope, asking if it is a 100% guarantee. Minsu immediately deflates, admitting it is more like a 68% chance. The food stall owner, overhearing them, silently revises that number down to 32%. This sends Seongmin into a spiral, remembering how he could still meet women in his mid-30s. He'd meet people he liked, but it never lasted. He always found some trivial reason to end things. By his late 30s, the dates dried up, and he became even pickier despite having fewer options. Before he knew it, he was 40, staring at his reflection and realizing everyone was gone. He wonders why he became so demanding as he got older, when some of those women were probably out of his league to begin with. Minsu gives him one last pep talk, telling him it is not too late, and Seongmin finally decides to take his advice, which is why he is now standing in a locker room in swim trunks, having just signed up for a swimming class. The coach kicks off the class, announcing they have a new member. He points to a blushing Seongmin, who gives a shy hello to the group. Immediately, one of the students asks when they are having a welcome party for the newbie. Seongmin is already confused. They have welcome parties for this. The coach tells him they will start with the basics since it is his first time, which apparently means practicing kicking for an entire hour until he can barely move. The next day at the office, he is so wiped out a colleague asks if he is sick. But he pushes through and is back at the pool after work. The coach is in the water, showing off some impressive swimming. A group of female students are fawning over him, while Seongmin just wishes he could fit in. He knows most of them are middle-aged ladies, but he figures it could not hurt to make friends. He glances over at the group, noticing a woman in a yellow swimsuit. But another woman in a red cap catches him staring and calls him out. She wastes no time, asking if he is single and immediately offering to set him up. He's completely flustered as she announces they have another single member. She suggests setting them up at the welcome party, and Seongmin desperately tries to decline. Class ends and the woman he was actually looking at leaves with the others for the barbecue place. Seongmin is left in the water, annoyed at the meddling and dreading the awkwardness to come. The welcome party is being held at a local barbecue joint. He arrives a little late, sweating nervously as one of the women waves him over. He even changed and put on cologne for the occasion, which the older woman immediately points out. She tells him the coach and a woman named Mihyun just went to get ice cream. Seongmin perks up, remembering Mihyun as the young woman from the pool. She walks in with the coach, looking even prettier in her casual clothes. But as they sit down, he notices she takes a seat far away from him. The older woman suddenly gets his attention, startling him. She's not here to play matchmaker, she just wants him to pour her a drink. He awkwardly obliges, still tense from the whole situation. She thanks him and takes the glass with a confident smile. Then she makes a gesture as if to shoo someone away, leaving him completely confused. He asks her what is going on, a sense of dread creeping in. She leans in to whisper her grand plan. She wants to set him up with Suki, another single member who's been married before. Seongmin is horrified, realizing she was not talking about the young, pretty Mihyun at all. As thanks, she offers him some meat, which he quickly refuses, claiming to be on a diet. One of the men calls for a toast, getting everyone to raise their glasses. They all cheer to their swim team's motto, a brief moment of unity. But Seongmin is already feeling the pressure. He heard they go out drinking every single week. And apparently there is pressure to attend. If you cannot make it, you're still expected to pay the dues. He sips his drink, realizing this fitness journey is going to be a lot more expensive than he thought. Trying to change the subject, he asks the older woman if Mihyun and the coach are close, and her sly grin says it all. Ah, tilde those two. And she confirms it. They are dating, super lovey-dovey, which makes Seongmin internally scream, I knew it. The dinner finally wraps up at 1 in the morning, leaving him completely drained among the empty bottles. But the very next day, the coach is already announcing tonight's mandatory drinking session at a chicken place, where of course a woman starts nudging him about Suki, whispering that they look good together. And then another woman casually announces it is time to collect money for the coach's birthday gift. Seongmin is baffled, asking if they seriously collect money for every birthday. The woman just smiles, explaining that yes, they all chip in for holidays and birthdays, so he better transfer the cash. He's starting to realize this swim club is costing way more than the actual swimming lessons. That night's dinner also goes until dawn, and naturally the bill is split equally among everyone, except the coach. At work the next day, Seongmin is a zombie. He joined this club to lose weight and has somehow gained 3 kilos. The exhaustion is hitting hard. Working out and then drinking all night is making him incredibly sleepy. He starts to drift off at his desk, only to hear his coworkers frantically shouting his name. Snapping awake, he realizes he fell asleep at work and quickly apologizes. A manager then lays into the whole team, reminding them that attendance is being strictly monitored. That is the last straw. Seongmin quits the swim class and joins a proper gym. Finally, a place for individual workouts where he can just focus on himself without the forced socializing. He looks around a little lost, figuring he will just start with the treadmill. But then his eyes lock onto something, a woman on a nearby treadmill with an absolutely stunning figure. He's instantly captivated, blushing as he wonders if she is some kind of Instagram model. Just then, a trainer with orange hair slides up to her, introducing himself as the VIP personal trainer. She stops running, catching her breath and looking over at him. The trainer offers her a free session as part of a special event, but she points out she is not a VIP. He insists it is a special service just for her, and that is when Seongmin recognizes his voice. The guy keeps digging, saying if she is uncomfortable, she can just buy him coffee later, and asks for her number. Her expression shifts from neutral to a slight smirk, like she's figured something out. And Seongmin is having a full-blown panic attack. There is no way. The woman is thinking, asking for a member's personal info, team leader Ayung. It is her. Seongmin chose a gym far from his company specifically to avoid people like this. The trainer, completely oblivious, keeps trying to sweeten the deal with diet management help, and Seongmin can only think, this guy has some nerve. His boss, meanwhile, can barely hear what the guy is saying over the treadmill noise. The trainer gets flustered, trying to explain himself, but whatever he said just made things worse. Seongmin watches in awe. The trainer is smiling, but his boss is dropping bombs with a deadpan expression. Next thing you know, the trainer is standing there, humbled, apologizing profusely. Seongmin is just staring, sweating, realizing she's one seriously scary woman. Deciding this is way too much drama, he turns to leave, thinking he will just go home and eat first. But as he walks away, his boss glances over, a flicker of recognition in her eyes. Safely home, Seongmin steps out of the elevator and finds a delivery waiting for him outside his door. He's decided to manage his diet strictly, ordering a full stock of whole grains, tomatoes, eggs, and olive oil. His new healthy meal plan is in full effect: kamut and oat rice in the cooker, tomatoes and eggs in the pan. He sits down to eat, noting that it actually tastes pretty good with a little seasoning. But he is only eating first today because his boss scared him out of the gym. From now on, he will work out on an empty stomach. For the first few weeks, he is actually diligent about it. At the office, a coworker asks if he is skipping the team dinner again, and he just says he has other plans. The moment she is gone, he celebrates. The team leader is going to the dinner, which means he is clear to hit the gym. On the treadmill, he feels a little smug, wondering how his coworkers manage their diets while eating out all the time. He moves to the weights, pushing himself hard, determined to get back in shape, until a trainer tells him to lower the weight. Walking home, he passes a street food stall. The temptation is real, but he resists, walking away stoically, thinking he is actually kind of cool for having this much self-control. A few weeks later, the grind is starting to wear on him. After 5 meetings in one day, he is exhausted. Staring blankly at his desk, he is hungry and torn about whether he even has the energy for the gym. Then he looks out the window. It is pouring rain and he does not have an umbrella. Well, that settles it. He will have to take a taxi, and since he's worked so hard lately, one day off will not hurt. He can just start again tomorrow. In the back of the cab, watching the city lights blur past, another thought creeps in. Since he's already skipping his workout, he pulls out his phone and opens a delivery app. It is time to order the pork hocks he has been craving. He even justifies it, telling himself it is rich in collagen and protein, so it is technically good for him. By the time he gets home, the pre-order delivery is already waiting at his door. He spreads the entire feast out on his floor, a glorious sight of pork, noodles, and sides still piping hot. He settles in on the couch ready to dig in, thinking this is the true happiness of a single guy. He assembles the perfect wrap: lettuce, pork, garlic, peppers, and a finishing touch of cold noodles. Then opens his mouth wide for that first magnificent bite. The flavor hits him and all he can do is chew in pure bliss. He is literally tearing up, it is so delicious it is melting in his mouth. He thinks about the bland diet food he's been forcing down, realizing he'd almost forgotten food could be this good. In front of the TV, he absolutely inhales the entire meal. But once he is halfway through, he pauses, thinking it is a bit greasy. His eyes drift towards the kitchen, remembering the soju he has stashed away. And when he finally comes to his senses, the binge is over, empty containers and beer cans scattered around him. He is flushed and ridiculously full, but he feels happy, like he's been rewarded for all his hard work. The next morning at the office, things are not so great. A colleague points out he is a little late, and he just laughs it off sheepishly. In reality, he overslept after going way too hard last night, regretting that he did not stop at just the pork. The hangover is brutal, there is no way he is making it to the gym today either. And that was the beginning of the end. He starts making excuses, like a food delivery arriving means he has to stay home. The days he actually goes to the gym become fewer and fewer, blaming it on reports and overtime. His diet management collapses too. He just lets the healthy food he bought spoil in the fridge. When he finally steps on the scale a month later, he has not lost a single gram. The realization hits him like a truck. Is he ruined? Is this how his career and marriage prospects just die? That night, he's watching a TV special on the rising unmarried population. They are interviewing a 57-year-old bachelor who talks about how utterly alone he felt after his parents passed. The man explains the grim reality: if he dies, there is no one to even hold his funeral, he just keeps gold in a drawer. Seongmin is horrified as the interviewer asks if he is still considering marriage, but the man just tries to end the interview. With his final words, the bachelor pleads with the audience, warning them that being alone is too lonely. He breaks down in tears, shouting that if he were in his 30s or 40s, he would have found a partner no matter what. The broadcast sends Seongmin into a full-blown panic, screaming in his apartment as he sees his own bleak future. He paces back and forth, trembling. This cannot be his life. Motivated by pure existential terror, he throws out every bit of processed food in his fridge. Instead of the gym, he starts climbing the stairs in his building, a brutal but effective workout he can do anytime. At first, it is absolute agony, his hands shaking on the railing as he wonders how he can do this every day. He is so exhausted he starts hallucinating his great-great-grandfather beckoning him from the top of the stairs. But he grits his teeth and pushes through, telling his ancestor to give him strength instead of just calling him to the afterlife. Back at work, his diet is just as strict. When a colleague invites him out for ramen, he politely declines, saying he packed his own lunch, which consists of plain grain rice, a single fried egg, and some cherry tomatoes with broccoli. Even as he eats, he cannot help but think about how good that ramen sounds, but he forces himself to finish quickly. He even goes shopping, buying new clothes one size smaller to fuel his motivation. Though the price tag on a simple jacket gives him a heart attack if he fails this time, that money is just gone. And so his days become a grueling cycle of stair climbing and Spartan meals, a slow, painful period of growth. During that entire time, he refused to check his weight. Until finally the day of the interim results arrives. He closes his eyes, praying he has lost at least 5 kilograms, his foot tensing up as he prepares to face the music, and then he steps onto the digital scale. Waiting for the final number to lock in, his eyes fly open in disbelief. He has lost a full 6 kilograms. Looking in the mirror, he can see his face is slimmed down and his double chin is practically gone. And best of all, the new clothes he bought actually fit him perfectly. He never realized clothes could feel this comfortable, even breathing feels easier. With a confident smile, he knows it is time for the next phase, which is summed up in one simple word: exposure. He downloads a local meetup app to force himself into social situations, but immediately hits a wall. Apparently being in your mid-30s is a crime against socializing, until he finds a wine club that actually allows people his age. So he crafts a friendly introduction and joins the group, and just like that, they are already planning a meetup. He figures with his new look, it is time to show off the charm of a man aged like wine. Though after seeing photos of the other members in formal wear, he realizes he might need an upgrade. Other women in the group are already buzzing about how good-looking the members are, and the event notice even has a red dress code explicitly banning casual wear, so he decides to buy a new suit. Come Friday, he shows up to work looking like he's about to close a multi-million-dollar deal. His coworker is completely baffled, so he mumbles a lie about a friend's wedding. But when she points out it is a Friday, he panics and changes his story to an engagement ceremony. He spends the entire day sweating at his desk, realizing wearing a full suit to the office was a massive overcommitment. His coworker just stares, probably wondering if he has lost his mind. He's so uncomfortable he even considers going home to change. But when the clock hits 6, it is go time, and he sets off for the meetup, fully suited up and ready to make an impression. Standing outside the venue, he figures he will know the group when he sees them. And as he walks in, the host greets him warmly, confirming he is the new guy, Hyun Seongmin. The host leads him toward the table, only for Seongmin to realize he's the only person who wore a suit. A guy in a hoodie and a baseball cap looks like he just rolled out of bed. Was the dress code a prank? He awkwardly says hello, feeling 100 pairs of eyes on his ridiculously formal attire. As he takes a seat, the sheer awkwardness is suffocating. It feels less like a wine club and more like a singles mixer. He also realizes the group's photos online were very selective with their models. The leader kicks things off, asking the new members to introduce themselves. First up is Hyo-chan, a clinic owner who casually mentions he is one of 3 doctors in the group. Next is Na-hodo, a corporate lawyer who already knows someone from law school. Seongmin is having a full-blown crisis. Everyone here has an amazing job, and when it is his turn, he just meekly says he is an ordinary office worker. One of the members literally asks, "Is that it?" And as the group moves on to the wine tasting, Seongmin quietly wonders why nobody clapped for him. He starts to think he is in way over his head. This club is for a different class of people entirely. The first wine is a Sauvignon Blanc, described with a laundry list of fancy terms. And a member offers to pour him his first glass, but immediately corrects the way Seongmin is holding it, explaining that body heat could affect the sensitive liquid, a concept Seongmin finds completely baffling. They pour him a comically small amount and tell him to taste it. The leader then puts him on the spot, asking the new guy for his tasting impressions first. Another member launches into a ridiculously poetic review, calling the wine an epic poem and primordial nature. Not to be outdone, Hyo-chun claims the wine has reached the realm of art, a celestial harmony. Then all eyes turn back to Seongmin, who looks like he is about to have a panic attack, so he just says what he thinks. It is tart and sweet and tasty. A dead silence falls over the entire table, and Seongmin cannot figure out what he said wrong. They said beginners were welcome. The leader decides to take pity on him, offering to teach him the proper way to taste wine. First, you have to look at the color and feel its story. Then you swirl it to release the aroma, which is apparently as important as the taste. And finally, you savor it, feeling the finish long after you swallow. Seongmin is completely overwhelmed, realizing he should have at least watched a YouTube tutorial before coming. He sees 2 other guys chatting and tries to figure out how to join their conversation, so he breaks the ice by saying the wine is delicious. And one of them gives him a polite but dismissive "ah yes, please drink a lot," before immediately turning back to his friend to talk about stock tips, leaving Seongmin in the cold. And just like that, the conversation is over. He is mortified. He should not have even tried to speak up. It becomes painfully clear that this wine group has its own exclusive league and he is not in it. Deciding to at least get his money's worth, he starts swirling his glass like he saw the others do. When the woman across from him lets out a little laugh, she thinks it is funny how seriously everyone follows the rules, saying it is just alcohol after all. He is startled. He did not even notice her sit there, but he quickly agrees with her. Turns out she's also a newer member and thinks it is best to just drink comfortably. And Seongmin is just relieved to find someone normal, plus she is pretty. She asks what an ordinary office worker does, and he admits he felt out of place among all the professionals. Deciding to be honest, he tells her he works as a couple manager at a matchmaking company. Her face completely lights up. She was actually thinking about looking into service like that. Seongmin, sensing an opportunity, smoothly tells her she is exactly the type their male members would go crazy for. She blushes at the compliment, clearly flattered. And in return, she offers him a taste of the red wine she is drinking. Seongmin's eyes go wide, his mind racing. Is she offering him a sip from her glass? Is this an indirect kiss? She smiles and tells him to have a taste. Flustered, he thanks her and holds out his glass, only for her to pour the wine into his empty one. He breathes a sigh of relief, realizing he completely overthought that one. She mentions that red wine pairs well with rich foods like grilled intestines, which surprises him. He loves grilled intestines. She asks what else he likes, and he thinks for a moment, before blurting out that he loves flounder sashimi with soju and immediately regrets mentioning cheap liquor at a wine club. She just repeats his answer back to him, and then breaks into a huge smile, saying it is her absolute favorite combo too. As Seongmin exhales in relief, she asks where his favorite sashimi spot is. He has to admit he does not really have one. He usually just eats supermarket sashimi alone at home. The woman then asks how old he is, revealing that she is 34, and Seongmin freezes, his mind screaming self-sabotage. He grips his glass, convinced he is about to ruin the one good conversation he has had all night. He blurts out his real age, 39, and immediately feels like a felon. And her face says it all. It is the exact reaction he was dreading. He tries to salvage it, asking if the meetup's 30s only rule is flexible with Korean age. Another guy stammers that it is probably fine, then gets distracted by a new arrival named Minchin. Seongmin's just relieved the topic changed until he sees who just walked in, and his jaw hits the floor. It is that guy, the one already promising someone he is staying for the after party. He recognizes him as the super young-looking divorced guy from a different meetup, who is now holding a sign saying he is 40. But this group was supposed to be off-limits to divorced people, meaning this guy lied to get in again. The newcomer Minchin makes a beeline for Jisoo, acting like they are old friends. He's already trying to pull her away to meet other people and talk about some wine group buy. She hesitates, and Seongmin can only stare as this guy works his magic. He mentally screams, "Do not go." But Minchin just puts a hand on her back and introduces himself as a new member. At the table, some dude eating bread scoffs that all handsome guys should just disappear. He lumps Seongmin in with himself as one of the invisible, unpopular guys, much to Seongmin's dismay. The bread guy explains that Minchin is an organizer and a notorious lady killer, and he warns Seongmin that Minchin's specialty is disappearing with women later in the night. Disappear? Seongmin's mind races. This guy is a fraud who hid his divorce to get in here. He is torn, wondering if he should expose the truth right now, but Minchin just smirks at him, pointing out to Jisoo that Seongmin keeps staring at them. Seongmin is left mortified, a blushing, sweaty mess in the corner. And just like that, Jisoo's seat at his table is empty. She never came back. He sits there with his wine, feeling like a background character after all that effort to lose weight. And he is surrounded by other guys getting the exact same treatment. At one point, people have moved around so much that only the seats in front of their little group are empty. A woman returning from the bathroom sees their table of rejects and visibly hesitates. Panicking, she just blurts out an offer to go buy ice cream for anyone who wants some, a classic escape maneuver. Xiangmin starts spiraling, wondering if it is his age or his outfit that is driving people away. He watches other women his age mingling just fine with other guys, wondering if he's being too passive, if he should just get up and try talking to someone. But before he can move, a voice calls out to him. It is Jisoo. She is back and she's clearly had a few too many drinks. But then Minchin swoops in, putting a hand on her back and offering to take her to the bathroom. Xiangmin watches them walk off, internally screaming about whether he should just expose the guy already. An announcement rings out for everyone to head to the after-party. Two guys nearby grumble about how a wine meetup is somehow ending with more soju. They note how drunk Jisoo already looks, guessing that Minchin probably organized the after-party just for her. Hearing Minchin's name again sends a chill down Xiangmin's spine. He watches as Minchin leads Jisoo away, offering to get her hangover medicine. And Xiangmin is left completely alone, frozen with panic. Minchin's hand is on Jisoo's shoulder as she looks back nervously. He's practically pushing her along, telling her it is time to go. Back at the table, another guy tells Xiangmin they are heading out for grilled hagfish. Xiangmin just clenches his fist on the table, sweat beading on his knuckles. Then he abruptly shoves his chair back and stands up. He has made a decision. He has to tell them the truth about Minchin. He catches up to the other guys at the exit. And he urgently tells them he has something to say about Minchin. One of them looks confused, asking what it is. But before Xiangmin can explain, the guy asks where Minchin even went. Suddenly they all realize it, Minchin is not there and Jisoo is gone too. One guy groans that Minchin disappeared on them again, breaking his promise to join the after-party. Another one smirks, cynically stating that Minchin is definitely scoring tonight. He calls him the King Motel VIP, complaining that new members never return because of him. A flash of memory hits Xiangmin, Jisoo's worried face as she was led away. While the other guy is asking what he was going to say, Xiangmin is already gone. His feet are a blur as he sprints out of the building. He's running full tilt through the streets, screaming Jisoo's name, realizing that guy is just as pathetic as he is. He runs past the neon sign of the Nana Motel, completely out of breath. And then the Sky Motel, still desperately searching. Xiangmin stands in a sea of glowing motel signs, completely lost. He scans the streets, his mind racing, trying to figure out where they could have gone, but it is no use, he lost them. He pulls out his phone, remembering the King Motel comment, but he has no idea where it is. His thumb hovers over the screen, but he stops, because what would he even do if he found the place? He pictures them together, smiling over wine, and starts to second-guess himself. They are adults, maybe he's just being nosy. It is not like he is her boyfriend or anything, and with a heavy heart, he decides to just go home. But a woman's voice cuts through the night, complaining she is too drunk to walk. He sees another couple, the woman saying she needs to lie down, the man suggesting they rest for a bit. It seems like everyone else from the meetup has paired off. And he is the only one left alone on a Friday night, so he turns for home. His destination ends up being a brightly lit goo convenience store. The door chimes as he walks in, a welcome sound in the quiet night. He's starving, having barely eaten at the meetup to seem sophisticated. Deciding he cannot let the night end like this, he resolves to enjoy Friday on his own terms. So he grabs 2 bottles of soju, no more pretentious wine for him tonight. For a snack, he picks up a container of Chinese-style tripe, and he brings his haul to the counter, ready to check out. The cashier rings him up and he feels a familiar twinge of embarrassment. He really hopes the part-timer does not just think he is some sad alcoholic. Back in his apartment, he breathes a huge sigh of relief, home sweet home. He peels off his suit, exhausted from a night of doing absolutely nothing but stress. In the shower, his thoughts drift to Jisoo, but he forces himself to stop. With his food heated and his soju chilled, his solo drinking setup is complete. He fires up the TV, ready to find something to watch on Netflix, but he is not in the mood for romance and the action selection is weak. The clock on his shelf reads 10:38 as he scrolls past a movie he has already seen. At 10:39, he dismisses another for having terrible ratings. He is already getting tipsy before he can even pick something when his phone buzzes. He glances over at the glowing screen on the couch, confused. Picking it up, he sees it as a notification from the wine group chat. It looks like the after-party is over and everyone is heading home. He starts to type a reply saying he had a good time, but something else catches his eye. A private message notification. Who could possibly be messaging him? He opens his inbox and freezes. It is from Jisoo. His heart starts hammering in his chest, wondering what on earth is going on. With a shaky finger, he hovers over the screen to open the message, and it says she is lost, trying to find the after-party and cannot get a hold of anyone else. His mind completely short-circuits. She was trying to find the after-party. He frantically types back, asking if she's still out there, his heart pounding as he waits for any kind of response, and a second later, his phone buzzes. Jisoo replies, nope, she just went home a while ago, and the wave of relief that washes over him is immense. He keeps the conversation going, asking what she is up to, but then she pivots and asks him if he has plans for tomorrow. His brain flashes a giant green light. This is it, this is the signal. He immediately panics, trying to figure out the perfect thing to say, overthinking every possible hobby from reading in a cafe to working out. And settles on nothing special, instantly worrying it sounds too desperate. The wait for her reply is agonizing, and after 10 minutes of being left on read, he is ready to just give up. Figuring she must be drunk and passed out, he tosses his phone onto the couch, but it immediately buzzes again. Scrambling, he snatches it back up, and it is an invitation to a restaurant she knows, a place she thinks he will like. An unbelievable turn of events, just one day in the group and he has already landed a potential romance. He cleans up his messy room and goes straight to bed, preparing for the big day. The next day arrives bright and clear, and he spends ages in front of the mirror agonizing over his hair and outfit. He settles on a neat, tidy look but immediately worries he is overdressed. Arriving at the park, he scans the area, a bundle of nerves, until a voice calls out his name. It is Jisoo, and she looks absolutely stunning, even complimenting his style. He can feel the eyes of everyone around them looking on in envy, and as she leads the way to the restaurant, he feels like he is on top of the world. They arrive at a classy-looking place, and it turns out Jisoo is a regular here. He notes the fancy atmosphere, realizing this place must be expensive, but before he can worry, Jisoo insists that it is her treat since she invited him. He is taken aback, trying to argue. But she smiles, explaining she needed a reason to come anyway. His opinion of her soars. She is clearly a kind person, not the type for a one-night stand, which reminds him of the one thing that was bothering him all night. As Jisoo mentions the food will be out soon, he decides to just bite the bullet and ask, "Hey, yesterday, people said you left with that mentioned guy. Are you two dating?" Jisoo looks at him, completely surprised by the question. He immediately starts backpedaling, trying to play it off as just something he heard. But she wants to know exactly who told him they left alone. He gets even more flustered, unable to give a straight answer, and she just lets out a little scoff, before bursting into laughter as if she'd ever date that guy. He forces a laugh too, trying to hide his massive relief. Turns out Minchin just offered to buy her a hangover drink, and by the time they got back, everyone was gone. Mentally kicks himself for worrying over nothing. But then Jisoo calls him cute for being concerned, and his brain freezes. Is not a woman calling a man cute basically a death sentence for romance? He tries to deflect, saying Minchin is the handsome one, but Jisoo shuts that down immediately, saying that guy is not her type at all. The type she actually likes is more cuddly, an older, innocent kind of man, and every single one of those words is a direct hit. She is basically describing him. His mind starts racing, thinking this could be the start of something real. But just as she asks why he was so curious, the waiter arrives with their steak. Talk about perfect timing. As they eat, he realizes it has been forever since he has had a meal alone with a woman, and everything tastes incredible, mostly because he is eating it with Jisoo. She's just happy he is enjoying the place she picked out. He feels like he is putting on the performance of a lifetime, trying his best to impress her. And Jisoo decides to seize the opportunity, saying she has a question too. He braces himself, wondering what is coming, and she looks him dead in the eye, asking if he is seeing anyone. This is it, the moment of truth. He nervously admits he is single, and she confirms she is too, so he takes his shot, asking if she'd like to go to movies or other restaurants with him sometime. He cannot believe how fast things are moving, wondering if this is even real. Jisoo just smiles and pulls out her phone, suggesting they exchange ids. His mind is completely blown, but he manages to stammer out his username. She's a natural at leading the conversation, making everything feel comfortable and fun, and thanks to her, even his long-dead dating skills are making a comeback. After a long chat, he suggests they should probably get going. But Jisoo's not done yet. She wants to go for a second round and get coffee. She tells him to head to the counter while she uses the restroom, saying she will come pay. Standing alone at the register, he starts to overthink again. The cashier asks if he is paying, and he awkwardly gestures towards the restroom. But then it hits him, waiting for a woman to pay is a bad look, it'll kill the mood. So he whips out his card and declares he will pay, thinking it'll make him seem cool. The cashier rings it up, and the total comes to 125,000 won for 2 steaks. He powers through the payment just as Jisoo returns, surprised he already paid. On the way out, he mentally calculates that the meal cost him 13 bowls of his favorite soup, but he quickly reframes it as a necessary investment for a future with a woman like Jisoo. Just then, she grabs his arm and offers to buy coffee to make up for it. He is so moved he is practically crying on the inside, already planning their entire future together. In his mind, she is already his girlfriend. It is obvious she is into him. But now that he is looking closely in the bright daylight, he starts noticing the wrinkles around her eyes. It is that classic trap. Once you think someone is yours, you start looking for the flaws. His arrogant inner voice starts picking her apart, and he has to mentally scream at himself to shut up. At the coffee shop, he is a little confused. It is a takeout-only place. Jisoo explains she is still tired from the night before and wants to go home, but promises they will get drinks next time. Drinks, just the two of them. He is immediately on board with that plan. He orders a simple iced Americano, and soon enough they're saying their goodbyes by a taxi with a promise from her to text later. He waves as she leaves, already feeling sad to see her go. Walking home, he keeps checking his phone, wondering when she will message. And then a notification pops up. It is from Jisoo. She sent a photo she secretly took of his back, saying it looked cute. His heart feels like it is going to explode from the sheer sweetness of it. That night, they text back and forth until it is time to sleep. Jisoo was definitely a proactive one. The next day at work, Seongmin is all smiles, texting Jisoo about the weekly wine meetup. He is completely convinced she is missing him, so of course he has to go. A colleague notices him grinning at his phone, asking if something good happened. He gets all flustered and claims his stocks went up, a totally believable excuse. But just then, team leader Ayoung walks in with a death stare, telling them to get back to work. Seongmin makes a panicked escape, babbling about needing to see a client. Ayoung watches him go, clearly not buying his sudden burst of productivity for a second. His colleague tries to defend him, saying he is clumsy, but his performance is actually good. She even mentions he's been chosen as an outstanding employee multiple times, and that he's kind of cute, which Ayoung finds absolutely baffling. Staring into her coffee, she thinks cute my foot and decides to keep an eye on him. Outside, Seongmin breathes a sigh of relief, glad his boss still thinks he is single. He muses that while his team leader is pretty, his soon-to-be girlfriend Jisoo is just as attractive. Turns out they'd been texting constantly, but were both too busy with work for a private date. So at the next meetup, he is on the edge of his seat just waiting for her to arrive. He scans the room, noting all the other women, but decides none of them compare to Jisoo. Then his friend casually points out that she is here, and Seongmin's face freezes in pure horror. Because Jisoo just walked in with that other guy, Minchin, his mind races. Did not she say there was nothing between them? Was she lying this whole time? Just as he's about to spiral, she spots him across the room. She rushes over, all smiles, asking when he got here and saying she was looking for him. Instantly, his anxiety melts away, thinking maybe he jumped to conclusions. She explains she was just picking out wine with Minchin since he had not arrived yet. And just like that, Seongmin's back on cloud nine, relieved he almost did not misunderstand again. He tries to find a seat with his friends, but the table's already packed. Minchin points out another empty table, suggesting he and Jisoo sit there instead. She happily agrees and waves goodbye to Seongmin for now, leaving him feeling like he just got played by some terrible seeding luck. His friend whispers, asking if he's gotten close with Jisoo. But the guy's disappointed expression is confusing, a classic case of frenemy behavior. Seongmin brushes it off, convincing himself that her bright greeting cleared up all his doubts. He might be on the outside looking in again, but he is not as lonely as before because he and Jisoo are secretly texting under the table, complaining about the awkward seating. It feels like their own little secret romance, a private thrill in a crowded room. But his secret texting marathon is suddenly interrupted. A couple of older women at his table call him out, forcing him to play it cool. One of them scolds him for wasting the membership fee just to text a friend. Then they start complaining about how the younger members ignore them. Seongmin just forces a smile, thinking he felt the exact same way just last week. One of the women decides they should all stick together since they are the same age. He nervously agrees, even though his only plan is to ditch them for Jisoo later. The women start chatting about why they joined the group in the first place. One admits what everyone's thinking: most people are here for dating, not wine. She's brutally honest, declaring she's here to find a handsome man, not to drink alone at home. She claims it is the same for everyone, using alcohol as the perfect excuse to make a move. The other sighs, complaining that all the guys are obsessed with the younger women. And as the conversation gets spicier, Seongmin starts to sweat. He chalks it up to them being more experienced, but then one of them changes the subject. She asks if anyone else thinks Jisoo is a bit weird, and Seongmin's ears perk up. They start gossiping about how she never talks to women and only hangs around men, all smiley and giggly. They even warn Seongmin to be careful of women like her. He is furious, thinking these ajumas have no idea what they are talking about. But before he can defend her, a horrifying sound cuts through the chatter. Some guy at the table just projectile vomited everywhere. The dude is completely wasted, mumbling about wanting to go to a second round. The group leader has had enough, standing up to take the guy home. He announces the meetup is over for the night and there will be no second round. Seongmin is crushed. He did not even get to talk to Jisoo. Outside, people complain about the guy who always ruins the night by drinking too much. Seongmin frantically looks around for Jisoo, worried she already left. He asks a friend if he has seen her. The friend mentions he has not and wonders if she left with Minchin again. And just like that, Seongmin's paranoia comes roaring back, so they really asterisk are a thing. He stands alone on the street, debating whether he should text her, when suddenly a tap on his shoulder makes him jump. It is Jisoo, standing right behind him with a smile, asking if he had fun. He is stunned, realizing everyone else, including Minchin, has already disappeared. She suggests they get ice cream together since the party ended early. His relief is immediate. He knew he could trust her all along. So the two of them walk through the city night, eating popsicles side by side. She breaks the silence, saying it was a shame they could not talk more. He blushes, just happy to be spending this time with her. Then she drops a bombshell, asking if he wants to go for a drink, just the two of them next week. He's floored by her straightforwardness. This is exactly what he loves about her. She calls it a promise and hops into a taxi, waving goodbye. He waves back, but then a thought hits him. The taxi is going in the opposite direction of her home. He quickly dismisses it, figuring she has other business to attend to. A week later, they are on their private date, and he is falling for her more and more. Then she gets serious, suggesting they open a joint bank account for dating expenses. He thinks it is a brilliant modern idea, wondering where this perfect woman has been all his life. Their date is a huge success, leading to many more just like it. They frequent nice places, and he always insists on paying, feeling he cannot let his younger girlfriend cover the bill. The dates are getting expensive, but he is too happy to care. He keeps attending the wine meetups too, now feeling more comfortable with the other members. It does not even bother him that he cannot sit with Jisoo since they can just meet privately. A friend points out how pretty Jisoo is, which catches Seongmin off guard. The friend complains that Minchin is always glued to her side, making her hard to approach. Seongmin just smirks, thinking, go ahead and try, buddy, she is already mine. Right on cue, Jisoo looks over. She gives him a friendly wave from across the room. His friend is amazed, asking how he got so close to her, and Seongmin just basks in the glory. But as he and Jisoo grew closer, the number of guys hitting on her also seemed to increase. This new competition made him feel a little rushed, so he decides it is time to make it official and confess his feelings. But finding the right moment during their fancy dinner proves difficult. Because Jisoo spends most of the time talking about her company's investments. She even offers to connect him, but he just laughs nervously. He explains he is not an investor, he just puts all his money into savings. Jisoo looks at him with concern, asking why he cannot just break his savings account, but he says his mom manages it and he cannot touch it. Jisoo's concern is now purely financial, asking if he has any asterisk kind of lump sum at all. He tries to play it cool, insisting he can still afford to buy her nice things, even internally congratulating himself for being so smooth. She looks unconvinced, and at that exact moment his phone buzzes. It is a text from his credit card company about a massive automatic withdrawal that is coming up. Turns out he's been splurging way too much on these dates and his budget is completely shot. As Jisoo gets up to leave, he's still staring at his phone in a cold sweat. She says the meal was delicious and he nervously blurts out that he should treat her sometime. Then in a moment of pure financial panic, he asks if she can pay this time, promising to buy coffee later. Jisoo just stares back, completely baffled by the sudden 180, and would not you know it, she suddenly remembers she left her card at home. He immediately backpedals, laughing it off as a joke, a very, very expensive joke. Because the waiter appears with a 245,001 bill and now he has no choice but to pay it. He watches her go, another failed attempt at a confession in the books. As soon as he gets home, he sends a text to make sure she got back okay. But an hour later, the message is still unread. His mind instantly jumps to the worst possible conclusions, like she got into an accident. It is getting late, too late to call without seeming like a total creep. He tries to calm down and get some sleep, telling himself it is probably nothing. That plan fails spectacularly, and at 3 a.m. he's wide awake, staring at his phone. The screen's glow is the only light in the room, still showing zero response from her. Sleep is definitely not happening for him tonight. A new day starts, but his anxiety from the night before is still running high. At work, he cannot focus at all, wondering if she lost her phone or something worse. The entire office is busy, but he is just stuck in his own world of worry. A colleague has to snap him out of it just to get some documents sent over. By the time he leaves work, there has still been no reply. Standing outside, he starts wondering if he did something wrong on the date. Suddenly, his phone vibrates, and for a split second, he feels a surge of hope. It is just spam, of course, offering him a hot night, which is not the kind of attention he was looking for. Then another notification pops up, a reminder for the wine club meetup. He'd almost forgotten. Now all he can think about is whether Jisoo will even be there. For the time being, he decides to just focus on diet and exercise to clear his head. The day of the meetup finally arrives. He shows up a little late, immediately scanning the room for Jisoo. Walking in, he offers a friendly greeting to the group. But the mood is heavy. His friends are all sitting there looking completely dejected. He asks them what happened and they confirm his sinking feeling. Turns out another member, Minchin, lent a ton of money to Jisoo and she's completely ghosted everyone. He is floored, demanding to know why he'd lend her money and what they mean by gone off the grid. Minchin is in the corner, drunk and crying because the guy actually thought they were dating. The situation gets even worse as a friend explains that Minchin is not the only victim. Our guy, whose name is apparently Nahodo, is in complete disbelief. The whole story comes out. Jisoo had been approaching members with sob stories and fake investment opportunities to get money. She was a gambling addict who embezzled from her own company and then vanished into thin air. His friend asks if Hodo lost any money, considering how close they seemed. He quickly downplays it, saying it was not much, while internally wincing at the cost of all those meals and drinks. The club leader decides to take charge, admitting he failed to manage the members properly. He proposes they all take legal action, helpfully volunteering Hodo to lead the charge since he is a lawyer. Hodo, still reeling from the shock, just numbly agrees to it. As he is processing everything, someone casually mentions that Jisoo is actually 37 years old. That is his cue to leave. He steps outside, finally realizing why she looked a bit off up close. All that money he spent on extravagant dinners now feels like the dumbest investment of his life. He wanders over to a humble street stall, thinking this is where he truly belongs. He ducks inside, ready for some cheap, honest food. The owner suggests some pancakes, but he is not in a pancake mood. Instead, he orders tofu kimchi and a bottle of soju, needing something with a kick. The clear liquid fills the small glass, a perfect match for his mood. He lifts the shot, ready to drink away the bitter truth. After downing it, a wave of clarity finally washes over him. He asks himself the brutal question, was he just her drinking oppa, her steak oppa? It all makes sense now. A woman like that approaching him was a red flag from the start. She was just setting him up for the investment pitch. Just as he is wallowing, another man stumbles into the stall, also looking for a drink. And it is Minchin, the guy who lost the most money, looking absolutely hammered. Hodo is instantly annoyed, wishing the guy would just go home and sleep it off. But Minchin just stands there silently, looking down at the floor. He then looks up and asks Hodo if they have met, recognizing him from the club. Hodo confirms it, a little surprised Minchin even remembers him. Minchin bitterly assumes Hodo was too smart to fall for Jisoo's scam. Then he asks if Jisoo ever mentioned him, and Hodo has to break the news that she did, complaining about some old guy hitting on her. Minchin starts weeping, crushed that she'd say that after claiming she liked him first. Hodo is shocked, asking if Jisoo really said that, only for Minchin to reveal she said that to practically everyone in the club. Now it is Hodo's turn to feel the sting, realizing her attention was not special at all, but Minchin seems to be fixated on something else entirely. He leans in, preparing to ask a deeply personal and awkward question, then just comes right out with it, asking if Hodo slept with her. The air hangs heavy with the unspoken answer. He asks again, desperate for a response. Minchin avoids the question, staring into the drink cooler instead. He deflects, saying that losing all that money is the more important issue right now. But then he adds that money can always be earned back, heavily implying that some things cannot be. Minchin gets introspective, saying the wounds people leave behind do not heal so easily. Hodo, trying to change the subject, mentions a rumor that Minchin is a VIP at a local motel. The comment lands badly and Minchin falls silent. That is when he drops another bombshell. He is actually divorced. The whole VIP rumor started because he was trying to discreetly tell people and it got completely twisted. Hodo is surprised and asks his age, noting he does not look like he is in his 30s. Minchin says he is 39 and Hodo jokes that it is basically 40 anyway. Nope, Minchin corrects him, he is 41, technically his senior. He explains he joined the 30s club 2 years ago and just stayed on as part of the management. Hodo puts it all together, guessing the marriage did not last very long. Still, he admits he's a bit envious that Minchin at least got to experience marriage once. Minchin scoffs, asking if he really thinks marriage equals happiness. He warns Hodo that living with someone you are not compatible with is a special kind of hell. When asked if he regrets the divorce, his answer is an emphatic 200% no, but he is still lonely, finding it hard to move from casual dating to serious relationship. Hodo does not get it, pointing out that Minchin is handsome and looks young for his age. Minchin explains the harsh reality: as a divorced man in his 40s, he is seen as less desirable than a single guy. Hodo sighs, realizing Jisoo was the only one who did not seem to care about his baggage, and she was a complete fraud. Minchin decides he has had enough for one night and gets up to leave, complaining about his skincare routine. He slaps a 50,000 won bill on the counter to cover both of them, declaring that at their age, you cannot afford to neglect your looks. Minchin brushes off Hodo's attempt to pay, telling him it is fine, and asks if he is still wondering if he slept with Jisoo, which Hodo quickly denies. With a parting smile, Minchin says he is glad he avoided a woman like that and tells Hodo to stay strong. Left alone, Hodo walks home, thinking about how even a guy like Minchin is trying so hard, which makes his own solitary meal at the food stall feel even more pathetic. So he decides it is time to head home too. He arrives back at his apartment complex under the night sky, walking through the empty glass entrance, and stands alone inside the silent elevator. Watching the numbers climb up to his floor, the doors sliding open to an empty hallway, and he has not said a word the entire way. Stepping out, he looks down the corridor with a tired expression before heading up the last flight of stairs to his apartment. The next day is Sunday, a welcome break, and Seongmin takes full advantage by napping as much as he wants. But the silence feels off. He is usually busy texting someone by this time. He pulls up Jisoo's profile on his phone, her status a cringy "let us love myself," and moves to finally block her for good, only to find out she already beat him to the punch. At that exact moment, his doorbell rings, and a familiar voice calls his name. It is his friend Minsu. Seongmin opens the door, wondering why a newlywed is out and about on a weekend, and is greeted by Minsu holding a plastic bag full of soju, looking ready for a bender. Minsu's big confession: he has run away from home, a truly bold move for a man in his 40s, apparently after a fight with his wife, and now he needs a place to stay. He's ready to drink all night like the good old days, but Seongmin is hesitant. Minsu is not taking no for an answer, insisting he is genuinely furious this time. So Seongmin pours a glass and asks what could have possibly happened. The great marital tragedy is revealed: his wife told him to sit down to pee. He is absolutely outraged by the request, which is just about the least intimidating rebellion ever staged. Seongmin tries to offer some reasonable advice about compromise, but Minsu pulls out the ultimate conversation ender, the "you would not get it, you're not married" card, leaving Seongmin with no choice but to just say sorry. With his point proven, Minsu cheers for his newfound freedom and demands more drinks. Seongmin's just glad to have the company, while Minsu now wants ramen for his empty stomach. To shift the mood, Seongmin asks Minsu if he is seeing anyone, but Minsu just looks defeated, saying it is hopeless given his situation. He admits the whole Jisoo thing taught him a valuable lesson: he was too greedy for his age, and realizes people were not staring at them with envy but with sheer confusion. He comes to a sudden, profound conclusion: maybe a pretty woman is not what he needs after all. This inspires Seongmin, who asks Minsu to set him up on a blind date, and he swears up and down that looks absolutely do not matter. Minsu is skeptical but says he might know someone nice. So of course Seongmin immediately asks for a picture. He catches himself and backpedals with a nervous laugh, insisting a good personality is all he needs. Minsu gives him some solid advice: do not rush into things out of desperation or someone will get hurt, which gives Seongmin pause, making him wonder if he is still not thinking clearly. Minsu, however, is done with deep thoughts and goes back to screaming about freedom and getting wasted, before promptly passing out cold on the floor. Seongmin, being a good host, decides to make that ramen so Minsu does not get sick, and he cooks up a perfect-looking bowl, carrying the hot pot over to wake his friend up for a meal, but something else gets to Minsu first. His phone rings and he shoots up in a cold sweat. It is his wife. The rebel on the run act completely evaporates as he stammers that he is on his way home immediately, and with a slam of the door he is gone, leaving Seongmin standing there in total shock, alone again, holding a pot of ramen for a friend who is never really free at all.